Hi, Naisha. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, very good. So, today, what do you want to do?
Simple interest and compound interest.
Okay. So, we'll begin the simple interest today. Take us some questions based on simple interest. And in today's class, we'll just touch upon compound interest. In tomorrow's class, we'll discuss more about compound interest. Is that okay?
Yes.
So, let me share with you a whiteboard and then we'll continue. So, topic for the day is basically simple interest. So, what do you understand by simple interest? Let's take up an example. Let us say you have an amount of, let me talk in terms of dollars. Is that okay for you?
Yes.
Okay. So let us say I have $1,000 and I invest in bank at simple interest of, let us say, 8% per annum. That really means that if I keep my money for 1 year in the bank, then the bank will give me 8% on that money. You understand? So we
Yes.
call this as the principal amount. We'll write P for principal amount. The simple interest of 8% per annum is actually the rate. We call this R
Rate of interest.
of 8%, which is basically written as 8 over 100 or decimal value of 0.08. Correct?
Yes.
Now, let us say, when I say 1 year, let us say I deposit the money on 1st January 2020. Then on 31st December 2020, it will complete 1 year.
Yes.
So at the end of this 1 year, the bank is going to give me interest. So on 1st January 2021, I will have an amount which will be more than what invested, right? So on 1st January 2020, I invested P. And on
Yes.
1st January 2021, I get something which is P plus interest. My amount is as
Yes.
such there in the bank. Nothing happened to that amount, correct? Plus,
Yes.
the bank gave me interest of 8% over a period of 1 year. So, 8% of what is 8% of 1000? That means 1000 times 0.08, correct? So, that is 80. Is that okay? So, the
Yes.
I'll say 80 is my interest. Interest earned on the principal of 1000. Correct? So, therefore,
Yes.
amount after 1 year is A. So A is amount after 1 year. For example, this amount on January 1st, 2021 will be the invested amount 1000 plus 80 my interest, right? Which
Yes.
is 1080 in dollars. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So we derive a formula which is a very important formula, that is amount is equals to principal plus interest. Is that
Amount
clear
is
to
equals to principal. Yes.
you? Right? Now let us
Yes.
work more on this. Let me clear the screen and we'll now take principal amount again of $1,000. It's easy, right? And then rate of interest of again 8%. But time, I am keeping it for 2 years now.
Okay.
So when I keep it for 2 years, I get the interest on the amount twice, correct?
Yes.
So, so what happens is that since I've kept it for 2 years, I will get interest after each year.
Okay.
So that means in this case, it will be twice, correct? Two times, correct?
Yes.
So if I invest the money on 1st January 2020, then on 1st January 2021, 1 year, and then
Yes.
1st January 2022 will be 2 years, correct?
Yes.
So when I do that, I have $1,000 here, and what I earn is an interest of $80, correct?
Yes.
Since the rate is 8%. So this amount
Yes.
is 1080.
Yes.
Now again, I earn at the rate of 8%, and that is again $80. And so this will increase by 80 more, correct?
Yes.
And so I get 1160. So you see here that interest is only paid on P invested, principal invested. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
And more the time, more the interest. So interest is basically equals to P times rate of interest times time, where R is decimal equivalent. Right. So rate normally is given in percent, so you have to convert that to decimal to use this formula. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Now earlier we had a simple formula saying that the amount is P plus I.
Yes.
Now we know what interest is, so it becomes P plus PRT. Let me write like this.
Yes.
You did polynomials and factoring, you could also write this as P is common, 1 plus RT. Is that okay? So
Yes.
that becomes your formula for simple interest for any number of years when you know these things. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Now, let's move on. If there are any doubts, I can answer. Are there any doubts here?
No.
Very good. So, can you just tell me what formulas we worked on? A is
Yes.
principal plus
In
interest,
plus interest.
and interest is PRT. If
PRT.
we combine these things, then A equals to P plus PRT, and it can
Yes.
also be written as P 1 plus RT. Is it okay?
Yes.
Now, when you have this particular formula, I can give you three types of questions. Sometimes I'll give you P and R and time and tell you to find A, correct? So one type of question, let's do type of questions, right? Type 1.
Okay.
Type 1 is, I know principal is, let us say 5,000, and R is, let us say, I'm keeping things simple, 10% per annum. Annum means per year.
Mm. Yes.
And time T is, let us say, 7 years. So we want to find from the given information, we want to find what? We want to find two things, and those two things are, one, we want to find A, and we want to find interest.
And I interest.
So can you calculate and tell me what is the amount and what is the interest? Yeah, do the calculation.
First we will find interest.
Okay.
Principal plus rate plus time. 5,000 and divided by 100 multiplied by 7. We cut the zeros.
Correct. I'm not using any units for currency, any currency. Is that okay?
Yes, now I can see this screen.
Now amount. Amount is principal plus interest,
Principal plus
which is
interest.
5,000 plus 3,500,
Plus
which is 8,500. Is that clear to you?
yes.
So in the currency you want, right? We could have currency, any currency, right? We could have pounds, correct? Any currency.
Yes.
If I put P as pounds, then this will be pounds. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Any currency. So is that part clear? So that is one way of doing it. What I gave you, P, R, and T, and we found the rest of the things, correct? Now,
Yes.
let's change it a bit. So I'm just reversing the question. And I'm saying this time, let me clear the screen here. I'm saying that I have a principal value of 5,000, amount is equals to 8,500. Amount is, and time is how many
7
years?
years.
7
7.
years. Now find rate R. How will you do this? You have to reverse the calculation, correct? Right? How will you do
Yes.
this? Yeah, do. We have already done this question. You know the answer. The whole idea is how do we work with these equations, right? Can you tell me? How will I do?
Uh,
You have to
we
find R and you have to find interest. How will you find interest?
first uh,
Interest is
we
what?
find
Interest.
rate.
Interest is difference between amount and principal, right? Sorry.
No, PRT.
Because we know this formula that amount is equals to principal plus interest, correct?
Yes, sorry.
So we know that the amount is principal plus interest.
Yes.
And therefore, interest will be difference of amount and principal. What that difference is because of the interest you were given, correct? So from here, we know it is 8,500 minus 5,000, which is 3,500. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, this interest was earned in 7 years.
Yes.
The interest is PRT. So we can use this equation now. So we can now use the equation and write down that 3,500 equals to the principal of 5,000. And we don't know the rate, but we know time is 7. Is that okay?
Yes.
And so we can rearrange. So we have 3,500 divided by 5,000 times 7 is the rate, correct? Right? So what do you get? Calculate.
Yes.
5,000 goes how many times? 3 zeros. So you got here, right? 3 zeros and then 7.
7.
0.7 over 7 is 10. 1 over 10, right? Which in percent will be 10%. Do you see that?
Yes.
So you get that fraction value, which you should convert to percent value and then write down. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Do you understand this method?
Yes.
Let's clear the screen. Here is a question for you now. So this time what I'm doing is, we are saying that the amount is 10,000. That is to say, I want 10,000 at the end of 5 years. Right. I want 10,000 after 5 years and I know the rate of interest 10,000. I want 10,000 minimum. After 5 years, and we know that I can invest the money at 8%. So find how much should I invest? That is your question now. What should you invest? So the question is, what should we invest? What to invest? You understand?
Yes.
Because we know, let us say you want to buy something, right? And that something costs you 10,000. You need to save for some time to get to 10,000. So if you want to know that you want to buy it after 5 years, how much should you invest now so that it grows 10,000? You get the idea.
Yes.
So, how will you do this? Tell me.
In how
So, you know, amount is equal to principal times 1 plus RT, right? You remember that?
Yes.
In this,
Yes.
we know everything except for principal. So, We
and
can,
interest.
yeah, we can rearrange this or we can calculate. So we have 10,000 here. Let's put the values, right? So let's put the values. A is 10,000.
Yes.
Principal we don't know. 1 plus R, rate is 8%, means 0.08, and time is 5 years times 5. Is that okay?
Yes.
So now we can calculate. So we have 10,000 equals to principal times how much is this? 5 into 8, 40. So 1.40.
40.
Is that okay? So
Yes.
P is, use calculator, 10,000 divided by 1.4. What do you get?
10,000 divided by
1.4.
1.4. Or 0.114.
No, do the calculation again. So in decimals, we get how much? 7142.86. Is it okay?
No, just a second. I'll do it again. We get 7, 1, 4, 2, 8, 6. Yes, now I got it correct.
Correct. So you should invest how much? So at least, let us say you should invest. So we can say what to invest, right? Round to whole number. Because normally when you go to invest, you will not count pennies, correct?
Yes.
So you'll say, well, I should invest principal of 7143. Is it okay?
42.
No, because 0.8. So we have to invest more so that we get at least 10,000. Is it okay?
Okay.
So don't forget to write down the currency. Currency could be anything, right? It could be rupees, it could be dollars, it could be pounds, it could be euros, it could be anything, right? So any
Yes.
currency could be used. However, the concept remains same. Is that clear to you,
Okay.
right? So what we did
Yes.
this time, we found the principal from this calculation, correct?
Yes.
Now we will change the question. We'll say we want an amount of 5,000. We want an amount of 5,000, right? And we have a principal of 4,000. We have a principal of 4,000. And we know that the rate of interest is, let us say, 5%. Rate of interest is 5%. So in how much time the amount will grow to 5,000?
Okay.
So that is the question. So find time.
Um, we'll write amount formula again.
Okay.
Amount formula P multiplied by interest multiplied by rate multiplied
So
by
this is
time.
a better formula when you want to calculate, right? Or you could also
Yes.
write amount equals to P plus PRT. You could write this. Now you want to find time, right? So this is even better.
Yes.
So this is better to use, correct? So these formulas can be, you should decide. So let's use the formula and figure it out. So amount is 5,000, principal is 4,000,
Housing.
and then again 4,000. Rate is
Yes.
5%, 5 over 100. Is that okay? And time we don't
Yes.
know. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So you can simplify that 100 goes this time, right? So we have
Yes.
5,000 minus 4,000 equals to how much? So we can multiply 5 times 4, 2,200, right? Is it okay?
Yes.
Now 5,000 minus 4,000, 1,000. I'll divide by
1,000.
200, and that is the time. Is it okay?
Okay.
So we get 5 years.
5 answer.
Do you see how we have done this question?
Yes.
Do you understand now?
Yes.
Once again, let us try to revise all the things. So, what we learned is that interest is equals to principal amount times R times T. Amount is the principal plus the interest. So, amount can also be written as principal plus PRT. We could also factor and write the formula P1 plus RT. Is it okay?
Yes.
Now, using these formulas, you can rearrange. So, let us see how to rearrange them. So, if I have this particular formula and I want to find, let us say R, or this particular formula, let us say time. What will I do? I'll do A minus P, right?
Yes.
And then I will divide by A. I did not write it clearly. Let me write clearly. What happened? I'll reshare, okay? Something went wrong. Okay, so let's review. So here is a summary. Simple interest. So what we have learned so far is that the interest I is equals to principal times rate times time. Correct?
Yes.
Now, this formula also can be interpreted many different ways. You could write this formula as you can find what time is, interest over PR, correct? You can
Yes.
find what P is, interest over RT.
RT.
Likewise, you could rearrange this formula, right? And you can find rate
Read.
as interest over PT, right?
PT.
So you could use this formula in different ways and find the different parameters. Now, let us see what is the final amount. The final amount is principal plus interest. And we know that the interest is PRT.
Yes.
So this is another formula which we can rearrange to find principal or rate or time, correct? So one way of doing it is, if I write this as A minus P, taking P on this side, right? Then I get
Yes.
PRT, correct? So from this formula, I can find the values of R and T. Do you see that? So I can say
Yes.
A minus P over P times R is time. I could also say A minus P over P times T is rate. Is that okay?
Yes.
So very useful. The other way is, how do we identify principal? So for principal, we prefer to factor this. So A equals to P common factor 1 plus RT. You see that? So now
Yes.
A over 1 plus RT is principal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, if this is clear, let me define a few more terms and then we will move on to compound interest. Is that okay?
Yes.
So here we also say P is present value and A is future value. Do you get this concept?
Yes.
What you invest today is the present value, and what you get after 5 years will be the future value. So we also use amount as future value and P as present value. Now this is important because as we move into financial applications, we commonly use present value and future value. Is that okay? So look here, the same formula I can write as present value and future value. P is the present value, so I'm saying present value is future value divided by 1 plus RT. Do you see that?
Yes.
And I'm saying future value is equals to present value times 1 plus RT. So both are the same thing, same formula. But we
Okay.
have used a different nomenclature. Sometimes in the word problem, we will use present value and future value. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Correct. So that is all about the interest, amount, and principal when we are talking about simple interest. What I will do now is connect this information with the help of a graph. So we know the equations, right? So let us
Yes.
look into it graphically. So if I have a graph, we are saying interest is equals to P times rate times time. Is it okay?
Yes.
Now, if my rate is fixed, let us say we are getting 8% interest on whatever we invest. Is it okay? Correct? So, so how the money will grow? So if R is fixed and P is fixed, in that case, you know, interest is proportional to what? Time, correct?
Yes.
So that means the graph will be kind of like this. Is that clear? With time.
Yes.
If this is interest. Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
So if you put the money, let's say you have $1,000 at the rate of, let us say, we'll keep 10%, easy calculations, correct? In
Yes.
that case, with time in years, it will increase like this, correct? Now, it is important to note that you only get that interest after the end of the year, and therefore will normally prefer to make two values. This is a scatter plot, where after 1 year, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. That is the amount, right? If we have $1,000 invested at 10% interest, then the interest will be $100 each month, right?
Yes.
Each year. So that is how it will go. We are saying T is in years. Is that okay?
Yes.
So from this graph, we have understood one thing, and that is that the interest is directly proportional to time if P and R are constant. Anything which varies is time here then, correct?
Yes.
Directly proportional means what? Can you tell me what is the meaning of directly proportional?
Uh, Directly
Directly proportional
proportional
means that
means
the graph goes through origin. Do you see that? So it is a linear line, linear graph through origin. If you do not give any time, then the interest is zero, correct?
yes.
When you invest today the interest is zero. So you understand this part? This
Yes.
is how do we view interest. Now, let us see how do we see the amount. Okay, let's clear this. Now we know amount is equals to P plus PRT. How will you graph this? Let us say we have a principal P of $1,000
Yes.
and the rate R of 10%. Easy values to understand the concept, and time changes. So with time now, tell me, how will this graph look like? So on the graph, we'll definitely have time in years, right?
Yes.
Per annum interest is charged. Amount in dollars. We are investing dollars, we'll get dollars, correct?
Yes.
Now, how will you graph this? Principal is 1,000 and rate is this. So what happens after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year? Tell me.
The graph will go up.
But it will start with, if t is 0, if t is 0, then if t equals to 0, then a equals to p, right?
Mm.
Principal amount. So which is, let us say 1000, right? So we'll break the graph here and say this is 1000.
Okay.
Because you invested 1000, you have 1000, correct?
Yes.
If t equals to 1, then the amount will be 1000 plus, which is 1000.
Yes.
1000 plus 1000 times 10%, 10 over 100 times 1, correct? So it will be
Yes.
how much more? 100 more, right? So let us say this is 100 more. So it becomes 1100, right?
Yes.
So after 1 year, it becomes 1100. You see that point? 1100.
Yes.
So we started with 1000, 1100, and next it will become what? It is going to go linearly like this, right?
Yes.
Every year it will increase by 100. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
But it is starting with 1000, correct?
Yes.
So this is called partial variation,
Partial variation.
not direct. Direct means going through origin, but this is not going through origin. Is that okay? But still it is
Yes.
proportional. Is that clear to you? Partial
Yes.
variation. So these are two types of variations for amount. It is a partial variation. Both are straight lines. Both are straight lines, right? Amount is increasing with time linearly, right?
Yes.
So linear, right? But not through zero. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So basically, when we talk about amount in principle, it is partial variation as shown on the graph. So we have connected the equation with the graph, right? Now, if
Yes.
I give you the graph and if I tell you from the graph, tell me minimum how many, when can this amount be 2000? From the graph, how will you do it? We are going by 100, right? So you will extend
Yes.
the graph till it goes to 2000 and then you will see what the time is. Do you see that?
Yes.
This is called extrapolation. That is to find the information from the graph. You get the idea without doing calculation once we have the graph, correct?
Yes.
Another thing is you can also read from the graph that when do you have 1300 in the amount. So you can go on the graph like this and then come down and see, well, 1300 is after 3 years, right?
Yes.
This is called interpolation. Now, what I have done today is added some more information to your learning. We'll
Yes.
actually complete simple interest today and we will connect our equations with the graph so that we understand this and have a complete picture. Do you want to get all these things?
Yes.
So let me clear the screen and summarize. So what we have learned today is that,
R extrapolation, interpolation.
yeah, let me write down, then we will summarize. So we have interest is equals to principal times rate times time, and principal can be shown on a graph as a direct variation. I should actually draw this line dotted since we are getting interest after a fixed time. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it is not continuous because interest is paid after that period.
Yes.
Sometimes you may have continuous interest, they may pay you in between. That's a different story, but in our problems, we'll treat after that period. Is it okay? So, of course, this
Yes.
is time and this is interest and this is direct variation. On the other hand, we talked about the amount, which is also the future value, as principal plus PRT, because PRT is the interest part, right?
Yes.
Which is same as, yeah, this is the interest part. So amount added interest, right? But this
Yes.
graph is slightly different since we are starting with P, which is a constant amount invested. Is that clear to you? So this graph
Yes.
will be like this, where the values are, this is the value of principal interested, right? And
Yes.
what is the slope? Slope is the rate at which it is going on. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So now here we have time t in years, and we have these points which are over a period of time, but this is partial variation. Correct? So if I give you this much of data, then if I want you to calculate something in between, this is called interpolation.
Interpolation. Yes.
But if I tell you to calculate something which is outside, extrapolation.
Next.
So that is how to read the graph.
Yes.
Is that clear to you?
Yes.
We also learned that a particular formula, which is A equals to PRT, can be rearranged, right? So we could write this as, if I want to calculate what time is, then time will be A minus P, and then we divide by PR, correct?
Yes.
If I want to find what P is, then I have to take a common factor. So P is equals to A divided by 1 plus RT, right? Do you see this difference? Why? Because we rewrite the formula and then we calculate.
Okay.
So A can be written as P is common 1 plus RT, right? Do you see that? Now it is easier to rearrange. So P
Yes.
is 1 divided by RT, correct? And we also learned that A is future value and P is present value. Is it for the amount invested? Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So with that, we'll end our lesson on simple interest today and take up compound interest from here in the next class. Okay? So today I would like you to practice questions from your book. If you have any difficulty on simple interest questions, write them to me and also read a bit about compound interest. In tomorrow's class, we'll take up compound interest. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll end the class here. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.